Anurag Kashyap, Hansal Mehta, Alia Bhatt, and a number of film fraternity influencers have gone on record to talk about how they have been mind blown by this new show on Netflix. There was this strong need for me to do so. That's how good this show is. That's how much I loved it. This one's called Adolescence on Netflix.
You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
Adolescence is a 4-part mini-series that takes you into the life of a 13-year-old Jamie Miller, played splendidly by newcomer Owen Cooper. This is his first show. He stepped on the set for the very first time in his life. In this show is going to be simply unbelievable when you get to episode 3, but more on that later. Let's address at least one big elephant in the room. What is it that's making people go completely crazy about this show?
Do you know a girl called Katie Leonard? Yeah? Describe each other as friends then.
Adolescence, each episode is shot in one single take. So this is one continuous take, not one single take, but one continuous take, which has been kept as the final episode that you watch on screen. Netflix has released how many takes it took for each episode. I think episode 1 took 2 takes. This is the second take that you see. There is absolutely no cuts involved in the 1 hour episode that you see as episode 1. There are 4 episodes. None of them are less than 50 minutes long. Imagine a cast shooting for 50 minutes continuously without going wrong. After completing this show, you have to go behind the scenes and watch to really understand what went into making this happen. That's what is blowing people away, that it has been shot in one continuous take. So what you see are 4 final takes, essentially for 4 episodes, which is mind-boggling because it's easy to do it when it's in a room, but this show starts off in a car, 2 cops talking, and the camera is on both of them. So you feel like, yes, it's through the window. And suddenly the car starts to move and the camera starts to move with them. And then there is an entourage of cars that come in and the camera moves to follow all of them. The cars come and stop at a house and the camera follows inside the house seamlessly, absolutely seamlessly. It is simply unbelievable. I can talk about numerous scenes here that would have taken such brilliance to execute. One of them is in episode 2 when a kid starts to run away from school and he runs through a window and the camera follows through that window. It is unbelievable. I just am at a loss of words here to talk about how good it is technically. To achieve this level of execution, you need to be pitch perfect in writing. You need to be pitch perfect in screenplay. And they have achieved that with numerous rehearsals, but it works like clockwork. Now, when you imagine a show like this, it almost goes from it being a TV series to actually a play being shot, because there are no retakes. Essentially, you are shooting live action and you can't go back. You can't be like, okay, let's take it from this line. No, you have to go back to the top. One such scene where it's important in a show like this to talk about different perspectives, right? In any show, you have a family in a police station, you have a perpetrator who's locked up waiting for the lawyers to come in, and you also have the police doing paperwork and things like that. Now, how do you show different perspectives? The easiest way to do it is, yes, you cut to another portion in the police station. Now here, there are no cuts. The father is standing here, there is a door. Father suddenly spots somebody and he runs out. Spotted a cop that had actually come to their house in the morning. He starts talking to the cop and says, hey, you were there at our house. What's happened to my son? Where is he? So the cop explains that we are working on the paperwork. You'll see him in a bit. Why don't you go back to your room and we'll call you? And then the camera, instead of following the father, starts following the policewoman. And you have an entire section of update from the policewoman and the team there. Another cop comes down and the camera follows them into the room where the kid is. And now the father is already there. Camera has moved from the parents in one room to the cops, then back to the boy, and the father is already there. It is just unbelievable. The more I talk about it, the more I feel like I'm not doing enough to justify the brilliance of the show. But yes, it is. This aspect of the show is simply mind-blowing. But there are other fantastic things in the show that I'm going to be talking about now.
He's a good kid, Jamie. I want you to listen carefully.
I've established that the screenplay is brilliant. I've established that the director is just gifted. And to be able to execute this, the team that is with him is just top-notch. All of that can now be put aside because even apart from this, there is so much in Adolescence for you to love and be in awe of. First one is the level of writing. The way this has been written, and I don't mean the screenplay, I mean just the quality of dialogues, quality of interaction is fabulous. It is mind-blowing to see the relatability kept while filming it like this while being on a subject that is just so difficult to comprehend for a few people. This is not an easy subject to broach. It is about adolescence, but it is also about the way toxic masculinity creeps into children today. And parents are really at a loss because they don't even know what's going on. It's hard hitting as well, but the way it's been written, the way it gets conveyed to you is so beautiful. The peak writing, absolutely peak writing, is episode 3, where there are just 2 actors in a room. There is the kid who's a 13-year-old and a psychologist who comes in to evaluate the kid, and it is just 2 people in a room, and it's a 50-minute episode, and you will not know where time has gone by. Is simply unbelievable the way it's been written. And those 50 minutes for me is peak cinema. I don't think I can say this about many episodes or many films. These 50 minutes are the most mesmerizing 50 minutes that I've seen in a very long time, right up there with anything else ever in my life. It's that good.
So do you think it would be okay if we speak about it?
Add to episode 3, episode 4. And episode 4's writing, especially the last 20 minutes, is so damn thought-provoking, so damn hard-hitting. It just hits you here and here at the same time. The way Nasiruddin Shah termed it in Iqbal, जब दिल और दिमाग साथ में काम करते हैं तो फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि दिल कौन सा है और दिमाग कौन सा है. It is like that. It hits both places together, and there isn't anything better than that. You can't go wrong when something hits both head and heart like that. It's beautiful to watch. Compels you to think and ponder. Apart from the writing, there is another hallmark of this show, which is the actors in question. Stephen Graham, who you would have seen with Guy Ritchie in films like Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. Was he in one of them or both of them? Okay, I just checked. He was in fact in both of them. Stephen Graham here, I have seen him in roles like that. He doesn't really get this much to do usually in a lot of other films, but this is a show that's been created by him. It also has people like Brad Pitt as executive producers on the show. So you know there is a definite might behind the show, people who believe in the show. And when you see it, you realize why. Stephen Graham is absolutely pitch perfect as the father of a 13-year-old. It is just so heartbreaking to watch him break down in the scenes that he does and the way he does it, the different ways he does it in. There is a scene with the son. There is a scene when he comes out and he's talking to the lawyer. There are a couple of scenes in episode 4 where he's not able to manage his emotions, and then finally at the end of episode 4, dialogue with his wife. It is, like I said, peak writing, but Stephen Graham executing it the way he's done it is something that lifts it above and beyond anything else that you would have seen.
He hasn't been found guilty, he's been accused.
While this show has been talked about for how brilliantly it's been executed and the fact that it's shot in one single take, most people in the audience won't really care. How does it matter whether it's one take or whether you give me cuts? Yes, there is a layer to this which I haven't spoken of. When you see a show which has no cuts in it, it naturally feels more immersive. It feels slightly slower in terms of it being a slow burn, because you can't do fast cuts and move from one place to the other. You have to move along with the story. It's almost real time. Everything is real time. So if it's a chase sequence and it's taking 30 seconds for that chase sequence to happen, you will have to watch it for all 30 seconds. So it is a slow burn, but it gives you this feeling of being more immersed and part of the people who are there. So you have a protagonist, you have a couple of observers, you feel like an observer to everything else that's happening there. That's the beauty of this. But for most people, it's a story being told, whether it's single take or 10 takes doesn't matter, or 10 cuts doesn't really matter. But the fact that the way it's been written is brilliant, the way it's been enacted. Stephen Graham, I already spoke of. Owen Cooper, the guy who plays Jamie Miller, 13-year-old or 12-year-old, this is his first acting job. It is unbelievable. And when you watch episode 3, that is the first day of shoot. They really get into his head, get him to understand what's required, and he delivers and how. And my special mention, because I talked about episode 3, one part of episode 3 is Owen Cooper. The other part of episode 3 is Erin Doughty, who plays the psychologist. I actually am out of adjectives to explain what she's delivered in the 50 minutes that she's there. The layering on that episode is simply outstanding. Yes, I've spoken about the writing already, but the layering on this episode, she starts off by offering the hot chocolate with marshmallows. She's also made a sandwich for him. He says, I'll have it later. Eventually, through the episode, what unravels through Jamie Miller, played by Owen Cooper, she really wants to believe that he is this kid and who's had a minor setback with the, let's say, call it a brain fade or whatever. And she wants to evaluate in his favor? Almost certainly, because you see it with her body language, you see it on her face that she wants to believe him. And through the conversation, what unravels really jolts her to the core. The way she's trying to channelize her emotion, the way she's holding on her fear, her tears, it is beautiful to watch. To the extent that, like I said, she starts off in his corner, to the extent that when all is done and he's taken out of the room and she's breaking down there, sighing and taking deep breaths, and there is a teardrop coming down. She starts winding up her papers and she picks up the sandwich. And suddenly she realizes that he's taken a bite from that. So she keeps it on the side in the corner and then just is shaken to the core again, because she just wants to rid her hands of that. That's the distance that a psychologist travels through that episode. It is beautiful to watch. It's just giving me goosebumps just talking about it right now. And I've already spoken about episode 4, but guys, episode 4, the peak dialogue for me. And it's going to be hard hitting for parents anywhere and everywhere to deal with this, to handle these dialogues, to handle this conversation. Beyond a point, you are going to feel helpless. There is no other way to do this. A daughter coming in saying that I'll put plates and I'll set the table and you guys join. He raises this question to his wife. How did we make her? Wife replies, the same way we made him. The 13-year-old kid who's serving time. It's beautiful. It is just so damn good. I'm again having goosebumps just talking about it, guys. Beautiful aspect of this show that I miss talking about is the sound design. While I'm not sure if a lot of people will agree with me, but for me, that was another dimension. Every time the emotions get overwhelming or a situation gets overwhelming, the dialogues take a backseat and you just have this vacuum suddenly coming in. And then the ambient noise is also amplified a little bit. So you get into this vacuum cocoon. You can't hear voices. The first time it happens is right up in episode 1 when the kid is in the car with the police and the police is talking to him and telling him that you can ask for a lawyer when you go to the station. Suddenly, after like an exchange of 4 or 5 dialogues, there is this vacuum that comes in because the kid is finding it overwhelming. You can hear muffled voices in the back. So they are still talking. But you as the viewer or as the observer in the car can only see this. The idea is for you to breathe along with them, observe and absorb all of this that is going on. The sound design treats this so beautifully. It is fantastic. Another absolute marvelous aspect of this show. And it happens a few times in the show, right up till episode 4, where the father walks out of a store carrying paint and he can't hear his daughter behind him. He can't hear the cashier. Goes into that vacuum and you can hear the muffled voices behind him. It is beautifully done. Adolescence is streaming on Netflix. I have been talking about this to anyone and everyone I can catch hold of, whether it's in office, whether it's a friend I meet, whether it's somebody I talk on the phone. We'll drop everything, watch Adolescence. It's just 4 episodes. It's such a beautiful and high impact show. I'm in love with this. It's very evident that I'm in love with this show. Guys, it's streaming on Netflix. If you have already seen it, let me know what you thought. Any other nuances that you picked, any other things that you want to talk about, anything else that I may have missed. Or if you didn't like it and felt that it was skewing the opinion and it was just one side of the story, please talk about that as well. Would love to know what you thought. This is Filmy Fool. I will continue to come to you and talk about the things that are blowing my mind. Keep watching. Until next time, take care.
It's crazy what your brain tells you to do when you're a kid.